Oh wow. So it's been a while since I've just talked to you guys like this. Just me in the room with the camera. How long has it been since my last video? Ugh. So here's how this is gonna work. I'm gonna talk about my top 20 movies of 2023. 20 through 11 will be just quick mentions. If I have anything to say about the movies, I'll say it, but it'll be very quick. And 10 through 1 will be a more in-depth review of each film I talk about. At number 20, we have The Iron Claw. 19, we have Blackberry. Glenn Howerton gave one of my favorite performances of the year. I love that man so much. John Wick Chapter 4 at number 18. It is probably a lot higher on the list. Unfortunately, I only saw this movie once in theaters, and my theater experience was really ruined by this fucking asshole who's right next to me who just laughed at everything. I'm not even kidding. Like, there are moments where he was just laughing at the movie for no reason. Like, there's a scene where Winston is just walking down the museum past some big ass paintings, right? And the guy next to me just goes, like, shut the fuck up. At number 17, we have Sofia Coppola's Priscilla. At number 16, we have Todd Haynes' May December. I wanted to really love this movie on my first viewing, and don't get me wrong, it's really good. Very, very good. It's just that I need to watch it a second time to really form a better opinion on it. I will say that the direction, the writing, and all the performances were fantastic. At number 15, we have Bottoms. Oh, Rachel Sennett and Ayo Edebari are just forces of nature. What can I say? I love them both so much. Like, they're both phenomenal. Just a really fun, funny and campy movie. Do you know how happy I was to see when this movie ended that during the credits there was a fucking blooper reel? We're so fucking back, thank God. It's pretty much just gay Fight Club, which funnily enough is what Fight Club already is. At number 14, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. God, this movie is just so good. I think the four main boys are just perfectly cast. Nicholas Cantu is a great Leonardo. I love the voice for Donnie. He just so fits the character so well. The animation is spectacular. Thank God for Spider-Verse. Really. Banger of a soundtrack. All like the voice acting was so real. So just top-notch. Top-notch shit. You know, as annoyed as I am that movies nowadays just cast regular actors as voice actors, I gotta say, everyone did a really good job. There's some top-notch voice acting in this. And God bless Spider-Verse, because if it wasn't for that movie, this movie would not exist. At number 13, we have Barbie. It's just refreshing to see, like, other movies that are not superhero movies just dominate the box office. And yeah, this is like, you know, another like recognizable IP kind of movie, but it's made with such care and love. You can just tell that everyone making this had such a good time. Margot Robbie can step on me. Ryan Gosling can also step on me. The set design was just pitch perfect, so delicious looking, just mwah. Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, you've done it again. I can't praise you guys enough, and I love you so much. Please adopt me. I would love to be a Nepo baby. At number 12, we have Theater Camp. If I had this movie in high school, I think this would have been like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's just so nice to see a movie that really delves into the community aspect within the arts, especially theater. It gives like the viewers who can relate to all these main characters something to like hope for in the future, something to tell them that, hey, there are people like you. If I had this movie in high school, this would have saved me so much more time. Yeah, I may not have been a theater kid, but this movie made me feel so incredibly seen, and I can't wait to watch it again. At number 11, we have Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, Killers of the Flower Moon, you were so close to making the top 10 that it physically hurts me to put you at number 11. I'm so sorry, Marty, please forgive me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I can say that hasn't been said already. It's a Martin Scorsese movie, and a damn good one. It's one of his best for sure. For a 3.5-hour movie, it flew by so quickly. It was one of my favorite theater experiences I've had this year. All the performances were incredible. Leo's always good. Lily Gladstone was the heart and soul and just the absolute standout of this movie. It's nice to see Robert De Niro be in an actual good movie and not some shitty comedy. Yeah, also just a devastatingly sad movie too. It's really heavy, especially with the themes it's exploring, like, you know, the murders of the Osage people. It's some heavy shit. And the ending itself was so unexpected and so good that I had a new appreciation, I don't think that's the right word, but a new understanding of just how we watch and view crime films, especially crime films and stories based on real life events. All right, top 10, baby! At number 10, we have Oppenheimer. Now, I'm so happy we have directors like Christopher Nolan who are still allowed to make movies like how he wants to, because goddamn, this movie's something special. Again, another 3-hour movie this year that completely blew by. The editing was so good. It's literally just a movie about just a bunch of dudes just talking in a room, and the music is just going dun 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 dun, and then Christopher Nolan's like shining some lights on some guys, and it's just like really fucking bright, and Cillian Murphy's acting, listen on, and it's fucking crazy, man. Seriously, I think this might be my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, and I know I haven't seen all of his movies yet. I still haven't seen The Prestige, but by far and away, this is the one Christopher Nolan movie that really had a huge impact on me. At number 9, we have Anatomy of a Fall. Going into this movie, I only knew that it was a courtroom drama, and you know, when you have certain expectations for certain types of movies, you kind of like expect certain things to play out in a certain way, but not at all for this one. Courtroom dramas and crime dramas in general like want you to look at a movie with an objective point of view usually. Anatomy of a Fall really forces the viewer to just not take that approach with this story. It forces them to look at it through a subjective point of view, right? Allowing the audience to fill in the gaps in the story themselves based on what they have seen and what they didn't see. Sandra Hüller, this is the first film I've ever seen her in, and she blew me away. I think she definitely has a shot at winning best actress at the Oscars. I would not be upset if she did, because incredible. The little boy though, Milo Machado Graner, I hope I said your name right. I'm so sorry if I butchered it. He gave, I think, my favorite performance of the entire year. I don't think I've ever seen a kid actor act like that before. Act like with such finesse, such prestige, and so naturally too. The argument scene being by far the highlight of this movie for me, and I can't say enough about it. I want to stop talking about it so you can watch it for yourself. Please watch it. You're not gonna regret it. At number 8, we have Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things, which really is just a movie about weird Barbie, if we're being real. I guess the only complaints I really have about it is that it drags for just a little bit towards the middle. Has like some pacing issues, but overall it's an absolute blast from start to finish. I just love weird, surreal, and just absurd movies, and Lanthimos is just really good at that. Like that's just how his career was made, really. Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe, Rami Youssef, everyone was just absolutely phenomenal. Every performance was so weird and yet so authentically human at the same time. What's one of my favorite things about Lanthimos' direction is that he takes these people and like writes them in such a weird way with these weird quirks and just these weird ways of speaking and acting, and yet he finds the humanity within him and makes him feel so incredibly human. Yeah, I don't know, there's nothing much to say about the cinematography and set design, like that hasn't already been said already. It's gorgeous. I mean, just look at it. At number 7, we have Godzilla Minus One, which is by far, I think, the biggest surprise of the year for me. This is far and away the best Godzilla movie ever made. For once, I actually care about the human characters, and they're not just like cannon fodder for Godzilla to kill or just a plot device to move the plot along. They're actual human beings with stories and layers and nuance. Every character feels lived in and real and just fleshed out. For the first time, I'm not bored shitless whenever Godzilla is not on screen. And when he is on screen, shit. This is the best Godzilla's ever been in film, period. And anytime he's anywhere remotely near any of the main characters, you're clenched at your seat. It's terrifying. Not to mention that this movie has a budget of less than $15 million, and yet it looks like it has a budget of $200 million, which is crazy because Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had a budget of $230 million, and yet it looks like it has a budget of $15 million, which is an insult now because look what you can do with $15 million. Look what Godzilla did. Marvel? Are you fucking stupid? If I were to recommend one movie this year to anyone, it would definitely be Godzilla Minus One. Even if you're not a Godzilla fan, I can guarantee you that anyone who watches this will find something to take away from it. At number 6, we have Hayao Miyazaki's supposedly final film, The Boy and the Heron. This is one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Like, this is my first time watching a Studio Ghibli movie in theaters, and what an experience it was. I watched it twice. I watched the sub version first and then the dub version, purely because I just wanted to hear Robert Pattinson's weird little gremlin goblin freak man voice. It's a Hayao Miyazaki film. Of course the animation is going to be breathtaking and beautiful. It absolutely is. Every frame is so meticulously crafted and just an absolute gorgeous movie. The story itself is where I see people losing interest. If you're not a Ghibli or Miyazaki fan, you're not gonna get much out of this because this movie is kind of hard to follow and just weird in general. This is by far Miyazaki's most Miyazaki film. I've heard so many people say that at this point, that it's true though, it is. The second time I watched it, I really finally understood what the story was trying to accomplish and trying to say. It's ultimately a movie about legacy and what you choose to leave behind and how you want it to be remembered in the future, long after you've passed. At number 5, we have James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So yeah, James Gunn just made the best trilogy in the entire MCU, and it's gonna stay that way for a long, long time. Not only am I just a big fan of these films and these characters specifically, but I really realized after watching this movie that they are my favorite superhero team by far. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my X-Men and I love my Avengers, but there's something about the Guardians, just a group of lovable misfits who just want to be loved and accepted, really hits home for me. Great visual effects, great action, great performances, banger of a soundtrack, by the way. I think this is my favorite soundtrack of the entire Guardians trilogy. This movie's also pretty dark and heavy. It's so dark and heavy at times that it really makes all the like heartfelt and light-hearted moments really shine that much more and feels more earned because of it too. I'm gonna miss these characters, I really am, and I'm gonna miss James Gunn. I hope you make a banger Superman movie. At number 4, we have The Holdovers, also a movie I did not expect to love so much this year. I wrote this movie off when I first saw the trailer because it just looked like, oh, another Christmas movie. Oh, another movie about a cranky old man bonding with a young troubled boy. We've all seen this movie 1,000 times before. However, in its execution, it's just a beautiful story with great performances, great writing, and great characters all around. Paul Giamatti, Divine Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa all kill it in this film. It's just a really heartwarming story that I cannot wait to revisit every year during the holidays. At number 3, we have The Battle, aka A Batalha da Rua Maria Antônia. This is a Brazilian movie that takes place during the 60s, which also happens to be the time that the country was being run by a military dictatorship. This movie takes place in just one location the entire time, and not once does it ever become stale and just boring. The camera is always in motion, the camera is always moving to something new, and it's riveting. Speaking of camera, there are only 21 shots in this film. That's because each shot is a chapter, and each shot is just a long take. And there is so much happening with the background actors, the extras, the foreground actors, that it's so impressively choreographed that it's seamless. You never once become nauseated or confused at what's going on at any given time. It's masterfully done. I even got a chance to talk to the director, Vera Egito, after the film, and she gave me some great insights onto how the film was made. And unfortunately, I do not know when this is going to be able to be streamed or viewed by anyone in the near future. I got to see it at the Chicago Film Festival, but if you ever do find a copy or find a way to watch it, I implore you to watch it because it is an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, and just devastating movie. At number 2, we have Past Lives. This film made me feel some type of way. Out of all the movies I've seen this year, this is by far the most real one, and probably the most real movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It's so refreshing to watch a movie that feels like it was written and directed by a human being. Celine Song is not afraid to show them the quiet moments of life. And when I mean quiet, I mean literally quiet. There's so many moments in this movie where people are just walking with each other and just not saying a word. And yet you look at their faces and you can tell exactly what they want to say to each other, but they just can't. There's nothing more real and relatable than wanting to say everything to someone you care about and just not being able to because you're scared or you don't know what's gonna happen. Greta Lee and Teo Yoo have incredible chemistry together and just feels like they've actually known each other since childhood and have had this unbreakable and just tender, loving bond that you don't see that often with people. You know, I know I said that kid from The Anatomy of a Fall gave my favorite performance of the year, but I changed my mind. Greta Lee gave my favorite performance of the year. Her performance is so subdued, so subtle, filled with so much nuance and layers. You can see every emotion behind her eyes, every thing she wants to say and doesn't. Not to mention that this movie has, I think, the best visual storytelling I've seen all year. Each shot is just filled with so much layered nuance and so much hidden meaning that I cannot wait to watch this movie over and over and over again. And my favorite film of 2023, what I think is the best film of 2023, is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, listen, are there better movies than Across the Spider-Verse that came out this year? Yeah, sure there are. But listen close. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that scratched an itch in my brain that I didn't even know could be scratched. This movie has everything. Breathtaking animation, that somehow, some way, we never even thought it was possible, surpassed the first movie in terms of quality. It's got incredible voice acting. Like, Haley Steinfeld and Shamik Moore just like melt into their roles, and they're so believable that I don't even hear the voice actors anymore. And that goes for all the voice actors in this movie. They all just like hit it out of the fucking park. Also, shout out to Dan Kaluuya for playing the best Spider-Man in that movie. I fucking love Hobie Brown. Such a good character. It's got the best soundtrack and the best score of the entire year, and I'm not even kidding. Metro Boomin's soundtrack is just absolutely flawless. From top to bottom, every song is a banger, and I don't skip a single one. But the actual score itself, composed by Daniel Pemberton, was... I can appreciate a good movie score, but I never go out of my way to listen to a movie score by itself, right? However, I've listened to the score so many times this past year that I can now picture the movie in my head playing in real time. I listen to it that much. I have a problem. Even the cliffhanger doesn't detract from how I feel about this movie. I think the cliffhanger is perfect. Everyone usually complains about how, oh, it's an incomplete movie, right? And to a degree, yes, it is. However, it doesn't feel incomplete because we have closure on one of our co-lead story. This movie opens with Gwen and ends with Gwen. I loved the cliffhanger ending for a few reasons. One, it perfectly sets up the next movie and gets you excited to like want to go see the next movie, but also it doesn't feel incomplete because you completed part of the story already with Gwen. There's a reason why we start with Gwen and have such a heavy focus on her, because this is just as much her story as it is for Miles. And also, not to be that guy, but I already knew it was gonna be a cliffhanger ending way before I even watched the movie. Literally the first teaser trailer tells you that it's a part 1. If you just watched it, you wouldn't be... Okay, whatever. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, it's my favorite movie of the year. It's now one of my favorite movies of all time. It just makes me so happy. It makes me feel everything I want to feel. And it has so many great memorable moments that really build up the characters better than they did in the first movie. The scene with Miles and his mom at on top of the under the water tower just hits home for me every time I watch it. I'm sorry, it's just a perfect movie to me. I can nitpick it all day, but that doesn't change the fact that I love this movie so much, and I cannot think of a better and more deserving spot for my favorite movie of the year. Well, that's it. That does her. I'm gonna make an effort this year to upload more, and for real this time, it's not just an empty promise. I'm actually gonna try. And tell me what your favorite movie of the year was, and what your least favorite was. I'd love to hear it. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. See ya.